with Robo, take 2, or 3, or 4, or 12. Anyway, so, I had to go clean my cache on my tablet, and I'm not going to give you a half-ass video. You know how I roll. Let me put on the forefront of this video, if I have a certain opinion on a case, I will speak my opinion, and that is my opinion. That is not exactly what happened. That is not exactly via all the facts. It is just my opinion on what happened thus far. Okay? And this video is going to highlight the cases that BLM has a problem with. Now, one of the cases I can understand. Okay? It actually shows no racism. And it was probably the one that was back in the beginning of BLM, when I actually was like, hey, you know, BLM could be good. You know, they could be good. Because they were reporting on all cops that were killing all people. Okay? But then power, just like in everything else, you guys, corrupted them. And so now I'm going to give you my thoughts on the most recent cases and take you back from the cases that I saw that they have a problem with, apparently enough to put them on a shirt and sell it. Okay? There's only 14 cases, and I'm going through this as quickly as possible. There may be a video number 2, depending on the memory size of my tablet. So without further ado, Minneapolis, May 25th, 2020. We all know what happened then. George Floyd. 4 officers were indicted. The case is pending. Now, I want to tell you all that cases like this, it takes a long time to go through the process. So, be prepared to have it go on for 2 or 3 years. Okay? And this is just from what I've seen and what I know from chilling in, you know, the case and legal areas and watching my legal videos. This is just what I know. Okay? Now, while I still don't agree with the fact that he died that day, a lot of new information is coming out. Number one, I'm never going to say that Derek Chauvin handled that properly. That is not something you're going to hear out of my mouth. Because my personal feelings are this. Once they are cuffed and they are not fighting no more, there is no reason for your big monkey ass to be upon a person. Period. I also found out that it was confirmed that he had no pulse and he wasn't breathing and he was unconscious. Now, at that point in time, if I was an officer, I'm trying to put myself in the officer's predicament, I would have called the medical and say, you need to come on and come quicker, and then flipped him over and started giving him CPR. Okay? But then again, the autopsy showed that it wasn't the knee on his neck. He did not die from asphyxiation, which is strangulation. You know, when people cut off the circulation to your brain via your neck. And if you look on the video, he is not kneeling on his neck. He is kneeling on the base of his spine. Or the base of his skull on his spine. Okay? What contributed to George Floyd's death is a whole bunch of health problems, plus the fact that he could not already breathe from the jump. He was excited, and that agitated all the rest of the issues. And then when he was put on the ground, he requested to be put on the ground. When he was put on the ground, the kneeling on him did not help at all. It contributed. it was a contributing factor. Now, Derek Chauvin is trying to get the case dismissed. It happens in every case. It's a walkthrough. And he says because he's being overcharged. I don't know if he is. I don't know if he isn't. I haven't seen all the facts, so you're going to have to wait 2 to 3 years for my final thought on that. But I think he could have handled it better. In Louisville, March 13th, 2020. Breonna Taylor. The cop was fired and an investigation is ongoing. Meaning they're still investigating the situation. But I'm going to put myself in with the facts, okay? Number one, people said it was a no-knock warrant. That is what the official documents say. However, witnesses say that the police were banging on the door. So I'm kind of I'm kind of thinking, no-knock warrant, why would they be banging on the door? But then another thing that brings to mind is that cops, when they bang on the door, or they hit it with their flashlight, they usually announce themselves. It's a habit, and they have a really bad habit of it. And then they busted down the door. And so the guy in there who was wanted in Mississippi, okay, he's wanted in Mississippi, he shot at the cops. And I don't care what anybody tells me, you're not going to convince me that he thought it was a burglar. What the hell burglar knocks on the door, announces themselves, and then breaks it down with a battering ram and says, police, hands up? It'd be a good trick, okay? And I always take a criminal's word with a grain of salt. So he shot at the cops. Now here's my problem in the deal. There were shots fired back, 2 of which hit Breonna, but there was bullet holes everywhere. So the only thing that can explain that to me would be that there were multiple officers shooting. And I don't know if that was the case. Therefore, I have no opinion on this case. However, if you shoot at a cop, it is my standard opinion you deserve to get shot. That is my standard opinion across the board, black, white, green, everything. You could ask my husband. I do not play. If you go for a cop's gun, if you tussle with them, if you tell them that you finna kill them, if you have a knife and you swing at them with that knife, if you shoot at them, if you brandish a firearm and they shoot at you, you are guilty, period, dot. Done deal. Now, another thing I want to know is, was the apartment dark? Like, could they see? Because if not, then that also explains the bullet holes everywhere, to where they were actually trying to shoot the shooter and accidentally hit Breonna. So I need to know this information, guys. And I don't think we're going to get this information until it goes to trial. So that's my deal. Now, Tatiana Coquise Jefferson. This is horrible because I feel for both sides. Okay, I am torn in my heart for both sides. Because number one, I am with Miss Tatiana. God rest her soul. God bless her family and friends. I could see the scenario though. She opened the door because Texas gets hot. And so late at night, while she playing video games in the front room, she cracked the door so that the breeze could get through. A neighbor notices the door open and goes, hey, a single lady lives there, so let me call a wellness check. Now, when the cop gets there, instead of knocking on the door, he secures the perimeter. And while he's securing the perimeter, Tatiana hears, and I'm not trying to make excuses, I'm just saying what I think happened. Tatiana hears, Some fool is up in my backyard. They finna get shot up. And she gets her gun, utilizing her Second Amendment right. Good on her. And then the cop gets to the window, he shines a light, and he sees somebody with a gun, and he shoots her. So I'm feeling for the cop too, because number one, he's securing the perimeter. She hears the sound in her backyard. She gets her Second Amendment ready. She goes to be a patriotic citizen of the United States and Texas. And I think it was misidentification, misunderstanding. It was accidental. That's my thought on that. I think both parties, were in the right. I think the cop is probably kicking himself, going, I hope I burn in hell because I'm so stupid. But I don't think it's his fault. I don't think that was intentional. Not at all. I don't agree with that, with BLM on that. Now, this is going to be a 15-minute video because I'm going to go by these and give you my thoughts on them. I've decided. Okay, another one that happened in Texas on September 5th, 2018. That was Botham Jean. Okay, and the cop that shot him got 10 years. I could tell you that the cop that shot him said she done thought that was her apartment and she thought he was a burglar and so she shot him. And now I am calling all sorts of bullshit all over that. Number one, you an officer. Why would you leave your front door open and come off work with your front door open, dummy? Unlocked. You don't know how to read numbers. Okay, yeah, that's what the jury probably thought, and gave her 10 years. Now the simple fact is that she said she thought it was a burglar. Now this is my take on it. Her and him had something going on. And he probably found somebody new, or he probably did something that was a no, and she wanted revenge. Because she seems like a vengeful person to me, with the hugging of the judge, and the, oh, I'm so innocent, and soft voice and everything. You full of shit, okay? From the jump, you full of shit. He probably did something that she didn't like, and she needed an excuse, and boom, she got one. So no, I ain't with the cop on that. I believe that she got exactly what she deserved. She probably should have got some more. Because to me, I'm going to guess that was premeditated. It wasn't just oops, I went into the wrong apartment. That was not an oops. Y'all know that was not an oops. Don't you lie and tell me you do. Texas, April 29th, 2017. That was Jordan Edwards. The cop in that got 15 years. I don't know the case. I didn't read about the case. Like I said, I'm just running it down. Then the North Carolina, September 20th, 2016. That was Keith Lamont Scott. The officer or officers in that case got no charges because he was armed. And like I said, I did not read this case. Therefore, I did not formulate an opinion, and I'm probably going to go with the DA on this one. I'll read that case if anybody, writes down in the comments, I want you to go read the case and tell us your opinion then after you read the case and get all the facts and let us know, okay? If you want to hear my opinion on any of these cases, I'll go read up on them. If you comment in the comment section that you want to get real on these cases. Tulsa, September 16, 2016. That was Terrence Crutchner. Oh, I butchered your name. I'm sorry. Terrence Crutchner. The cops were acquitted, or the lady cop was acquitted, and now she trains officers in gun safety. Well, That's interesting. She left the police department that she was at to go to a smaller police department and train officers in gun safety. Now, this was a case where the gentleman put his hands up. And what happened there was that he went back to his car being belligerent, resisting arrest. I didn't read through the case, so I don't have an official opinion on this. I'm not saying she was right or wrong. I'm going with the jury on this one, okay? But the simple fact of the matter is, if he was reaching for a weapon, this includes a screwdriver. I read a little bit about it, about the defense. And this includes a screwdriver. That can be used as a weapon. Ask a Marine. A very efficient weapon as well. Then that might change my whole idea on this.
Deadly as an ice pick.
But for right now, that's my deal. That's my deal. Where was I? Okay, number 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Florida, October 18th, 2015. And we're talking about Corey Jones. The police officer in that case got 25 years. And I didn't read the case, so I don't know if it was right or wrong, but I'm assuming it was wrong, because it just don't sound right. Baltimore, April 19th, 2015. Freddie Gray, the officer was acquitted, and the other ones had their charges dropped, and they found out that it was neglect that caused it, and that Mr. Gray's head hit a bolt inside the police van, because I guess he wasn't strapped in right or something. So, I mean, I could understand that's another accidental death. They were negligent. They should, get a slap on the wrist and say, be better at it. But that's not going to bring the family of Mr. Gray's loved one back. So I really have no opinion on this case other than to say, it sounds like it was an accident. It sounds like they didn't intentionally mean to hurt him. Like, because when I was first reading the case, it was like when I heard that he had a nearly severed spinal column or cord, I was like, what the hell? And, they came back and he was just there like that. And then I read a little bit further into it and realized, from the autopsy report, that the bolt hit his spine, his back of his neck, and nearly severed his spinal column. And his head bounced around because he wasn't, secured properly. And well, when you're in handcuffs, I could assume that if you're in a police van and you take a sharp corner, you're going to bounce around like a little rubber ball in the back there and not be able to stop you, okay? So, me personally, if the jury said that they were acquitted and the other ones dropped charges, then, hey, it sounded like an accident to me, and I could understand the anger and all that, but accidents do happen. And I think that those cops need better training. But we're not going to do that by defunding the police, are we? South Carolina, April 4th, 2015. Walter Scott. The cop got a 20-year sentence. Okay, so that sounds right. If the jury says, that's what he deserved, then he deserved that. Cleveland, November 22nd, 2014. By the way, the one in South Carolina, I didn't read it, so I wouldn't know. Tamir Rice. First of all, this is a kid, so it rips my heart. Okay, 12-year-old kid rips my heart already. I'm looking at the cop like, you son of a bitch, you better give me something good to run with. Something really good. And the cop was fired, but there was no indictment. I read further into this story and thought the cop should have handled that one better as well. You know, firing, that's a good thing. Extra training for the other police on the force, that would be even a better thing. You know. But the simple fact of the matter is, I can understand. The call came in as a person waving a gun around, and it didn't look like the airsoft gun because it didn't have the orange tip on it. And so when the kid pointed it at the officer, he had no recourse. He reacted in a split second. And in a split second, you don't react in that kind of situation or on the battlefield, y'all already know.
You're dead.
See, even the Marine agrees. Which one was I on? Ohio. John Crawford III. No indictment, no civil case. And the reason that happened on August 5th, 2014 to John Crawford III is because, again, he was waving around an airsoft gun, but it did not have the orange tip. And so when the officer told him, put it down, he did not. And so he was fired upon. But the reason why there was no indictment is because it was found out later that the caller to 911 lied. He lied. So I think the person that everybody should be pissed off at is not the cop, but the person who called 911 and frickin' lied. That was him. And his, whatever he was motivated by. And he should have got charged. That's my thoughts on that shit. New York, July 17, 2014. Eric Garner. Fired. The cop was fired, but not indicted. And the civil case was dropped. And this was due to a chokehold that was placed on Mr. Garner. Now, I didn't read about the case, nothing like that. But if the grand jury said that there's no case, I'm going with the grand jury. North Carolina, September 14, 2013. Jonathan Farrell. It ended up in a deadlock and a mistrial, and the cop is no longer a cop. So either he retired or he got fired, and I didn't read into that one either. I know I went way over 15 minutes, but I'm nearly done anyway. So now I'm going to talk about Rayshard Brooks. And this is going to piss people off because I think it was a justified shooting. That is my official opinion. And the reason is because I saw the damn videotape. Now, the officers that shot him are out on bond. The officer that shot him believes he was overcharged, and I believe he was overcharged too, by a DA that wanted to get reelected, so he's pandering. The DA needs to recuse himself or be removed, and I agree fully with that. Because number one, I'm going to talk about the case in just a minute here, but number one, the DA said nothing but 2 days, maybe 3 days previous to that. I've already talked about this case on another video, that tasers were deadly weapons. But yet, in front of the press conference, he changed up his story and said they are non-lethal weapons. Now, what happened in the case is Brooks was fine up until the point where they said, you're going to be arrested. And I don't care to hear about, they should have just let him walk home if he was that drunk. I'm not hearing you. You do the crime, you pay the time, period. And then that's when Brooks started fighting with the officers and grabbed one of their tasers, which according to the DA 2-3 days ago was a deadly weapon, and he shot at the officer's head. And because the officer did not have his taser, he dropped his taser. He had his sidearm in his hand. He returned fire. Now, while I don't think he should have dropped his taser, but maybe he thought that maybe Brooks was out of the range of the taser.
Or he already expended his taser charges.
I'm not sure if that happened. I did hear one pop at the beginning, but in Georgia they have 2-shot tasers. I don't know if they had one, but I'm thinking that the Officer Rolfe, thought to himself, hey, the taser can only reach this far, and as he ran up on Brooks turned and fired at him. So maybe they were well within the range at that point in time, at his head. And being that Rolfe already had dropped his taser back there, he returned fire. Because tasers are very dangerous weapons, very deadly. If that taser would have hit Officer Rolfe in the forehead, he could have been rendered immobile, and then he could have had his gun taken from him. But I figure because he knew he missed, he turned to try and run again. However, I'm waiting on the autopsy because I could almost guarantee you that it's going to be shots of him. The trajectory is going to be shooting straight, but they're going to enter the back at a certain angle to where Officer Rolfe fired immediately when Brooks fired the taser at him. He just got him in the back area while Rayshard was turning back around. So no, I believe the officers are innocent in that case, and it was justified. Latrell Ellen, justified. The dude had a gun, okay? He was waving it around in the park. He brandished it, and he fired it at officers. Done deal. And that was the one that sparked riots down in the rich part of the city or something in Chicago. Jacob Blake, you already know what I think of that one. Court TV showed me a new video. It's on Court TV, and Miss Smith, I don't really want to put her name out there, but that's who posted the video to show the actual what happened from the other view. They deployed tasers. He said he had a knife. A knife was found, and they say that he was shot in the back 7 times. That's a lie. He was shot at 7 times. 4 was actually in him. And I was wrong. It was a dude, even though he looks fatter in the picture than he does in any other of his pictures. But, I don't know, cameras put 10 pounds on us, I guess.
10, that was more like 40.
Whatever. But it was a dude that grabbed his shirt. So I want to clean that up. However, I believe if he had a knife on him and he says, I have a knife, and then goes into his car, I don't know all what was said. He may have said, I will kill you, or I will stab you, or I will do something. It's not beyond him. But plus on top of that, he had a warrant. They had already fought him. They've tried the tasers and everything like that. And so no, I don't think it's an unjustified shooting. But time will tell. Maybe more facts will come out. But right now I'm giving you my pre-judgment, and that it was justified from what I've seen. Now, I'm not going to give you my official judgment until I've seen everything and know all the facts. So that was, a couple of the BLM ones. Like I said, there were 14 of them. And then, 3 extras, because we all like to talk about, current events. And back in 2013, I was actually down with BLM and thought it was a great organization, because the first thing they did was report on that shooting, and it was a black officer on a black man. But ever since then, they've only been dealing with black victims and white cops. So, and plus, after the video last night of the lady saying white lives don't matter, and confirming everyone's suspicions that they're a racist, extremist, left-wing group, basically the black KKK. They just needed an excuse, one that's a tearjerker and a heart jerker. I don't agree with them at all. And I think that was in 2014 when I stopped agreeing with them. Maybe a little before then. But the simple fact of the matter is, those are the cases that struck them enough to put it on a shirt. And I wanted you guys to know that yes, in every case, there was justice. There was actual court trial. And justice was served via either the grand jury or a group of 12 of their peers. Now, whether you agree that justice was served or not, that is the judgment of the courts. Go volunteer for jury duty. Make the world a greater place. But yeah, so I wanted to get you up to speed on these things. And if you were curious about how they ended up, that's how they ended up. And that's Real with Robo.